right, we're recording. So, welcome to episode 12 of the Dream Podcast. Today, we have a very special guest, Austin. You are a decoder in
Gematria.
Gematria.
Thank you.
Gematria.
Awesome. Now we know that this is how we should be pronouncing it, and it's
right.
not.
A lot of people pronounce it Gematria, but I think that's
or Gematria.
and I still will call it Gematria as well. But it's properly pronounced Gematria.
Right. Perfect. Okay. And also former U.S. Marine, served in Iraq and Afghanistan, and you have taken multiple weather classes, and also history, geography, and a major in aviation, right? So you studied weather a lot during your major in aviation. So I think that is definitely interesting. Your journey has had so many ups and downs, it seems like. When I was drawing the airplane, because when I was taking notes with Austin, I was like, oh, this is the airplane, and then I have in a cloud, like big, it's like that feeling of really not fitting in anywhere, which I resonate with a lot. So
yeah, I was always trying to find my nook and cranny. I would fall into sports. My hero growing up, his name was Steve Air McNair. He was a Tennessee Titans quarterback who was later shot in the head by his girlfriend on the 4th of July. What's interesting is when they retired his number for the Titans in Nashville, there was a cloud 9 that appeared over the stadium in a perfect shade, clear as day, cloud 9 that over the stadium. And obviously when everyone saw it, they were like, oh my gosh, like getting these goosebump chills of he's looking down on us. And I thought that as well too then. And now that the more that I've learned about weather manipulation, I feel like that was more of a mockery by the elite, more so than how everyone else perceived it at the time.
Yeah, I see what you mean. So this is the kind of talks that we have with Austin always. He does lives pretty much every day. I think you guys are up until 3 a.m. Sometimes I just pop in to say hi, because they talk about this I'm gonna say it wrong again. Gematria, right?
Yep, you got it. Gematria.
Oh, we need to play it again. No, just kidding. But this is what it is, right? So can you just tell our listeners, how would you define it so that they have an idea of what this is? Because you really have to look more into it to understand it. I'm barely understanding it. I love deep diving into new subjects, and this is why I invited Austin to talk with me today. So yes, go ahead, Austin. Tell us what it is.
So from my understanding, Gematria is essentially the ancient practice of coding letters and words into numbers. So it's a coded system that essentially reveals a lot of hidden truth in our world. So essentially there are many different ciphers in where you can code letters into numbers. We'll just focus on the main 4 ciphers for now. The first cipher would be not the first cipher ever made, but the prominent cipher that's used today, because the main speaking language in the world is English. It's probably the most prominent cipher, most important one for most of us to know. That's called English ordinal. And essentially what that means is all you're doing is converting the alphabet to numbers. So A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, all the way up to Z, the 26th letter in our alphabet. Z equals 26. And then you have reverse ordinal. So that's another way they like to hide a lot of codes, is flipping the alphabet backwards. So where Z is 1, Y is 2, A would be 26. And then the other 2 main ciphers are full reduction, which is the Pythagorean theorem cipher, essentially, which is base 10 counting. So that's where A is 1, B is 2, all the way to J, the 10th letter in the alphabet. J would equal 1. and then so on. And then there's the reverse of that, where Z is 1. I believe it's Q would start over as 1.
Well, we get it. It's like it goes in
Yeah.
reverse. So yeah,
and then there's like, I believe there's like 40. There's at least 40 to 50 other ciphers,
wow.
if not more. Those are just the ones that are most prominent.
Oh wow.
Some go. There's a satanic cipher which starts at 36, and then the reverse of that. There are ciphers where like a capital A and a lowercase a are different values. There's the oldest cipher would be the Chaldean cipher, which is based off of phonetics, so the vibrational value of each letter. That cipher's that one's really wild. That there's no real. It's hard to notice the pattern in that one. The numbers are all over the place in that one.
Mm.
And then another prominent one is English Sumerian cipher. That one is counts in 6s. So A is 6, B is 12, and Z would be 156. What's interesting about that cipher is in mathematics, 911 is the 156th prime number. So another way that essentially how you have to decode is by learning your prime numbers. Prime numbers essentially show strength in mathematics. So because they can only be divided by 1 in themselves. So it shows it's a powerful number, prime numbers. And then you also have Fibonacci numbers, fib of no chi, as I like to say it. And then also your triangular numbers are very important. So for example, 36 was a big number in one of the weather events. I just decoded that there was a tornado that hit my hometown. That day had 36 date numerology. What's important about that number is 666 is the 36 triangular number. So 666, the 36 triangular number. Tornadoes in English Sumerian cipher, that's the base 6 counting. Tornadoes equals 666. Hailstorm equals 666. What were the other ones? Drawing a blank right now. Yeah, that was a big number in that tornado that struck my high school.
Yeah. So just to give people an idea of how this could be useful, because people are probably wondering, well, I'm listening to all these numbers and it's like it doesn't make any sense. That's the way I kind of saw it at first, but I'm like, yeah, but there's maybe something there, right? And of course there is. And the way that I've been seeing things in your stories and everything, it's like it seems like there is definitely a method as well. You can tell us a little bit of like which one you prefer, because we were talking about base 10 versus versus base 12. So yeah, tell us how this has been useful and how, like, when you said they are hiding the information. Yeah, like expand a little bit on that for the people listening, because
well, I'm sure a lot of people, I'm sure a lot of your listeners are familiar with Kabbalah, and the Kabbalah essentially is base 10 mathematics, which I believe is a not so accurate version of the universe, and I believe it's another way they hide in plain sight. The Rockefeller education system has pushed base 10 mathematics. A lot of the rest of the world will use the metric system, which is 12. And how funny, we're sitting here on your 12th podcast.
I know, right? That's so
another little synchronicity going on there. But
and then we were saying like how they're doing this to, it's like kiting codes because they're manipulating situations for things to happen. And what I found really interesting, because I was listening to the podcast that you recorded with TJ, was that they need to do all this what's the word, they're like all this chaos or all this nonsense in order to shift realities, which shows you guys were saying, I thought that was that was spot on. Is like, it shows how powerful we are compared to them, really, right?
The Freemason motto is order out of chaos, orb de cha. And so that's why they have to control both sides of the narrative. That's why they have Republicans and Democrats. They want to, it's two birds of the same feather, left wing, right wing, it's the same damn bird. They want everyone in a reactionary force or a reactionary state, so we can quickly jump to conclusions and we have it all solved. That's why they push a lot of like the Kardashians or whatnot on TV. For that's, I believe, how they attack females most often. And with males, they attack us through sports. It's all like, it's essentially another form of mind control where, you know, they want us to be violent um, and not understanding of each other and just quickly jumping to conclusions. I mean, anyone that watches the Kardashian show can quickly see how, you know, a female who would worship that show, you know, can quickly spiral out of control in a otherwise seemingly calm situation.
Yeah. So how would you define these evil forces, I guess, or, you know, we can call them evil forces, phantom matrix, I don't know. How do you see these beings? Because, you know, I just want to mention this real quick, because what came to mind is that we still have a lot of people, it feels like to me, in this a very love and light kind of movement thing where it's like, oh, we're all one, we all have to accept each other for what we are, and it's all perfect. In a way, yes, but we've also, I think, got to recognize that there are definitely aspects of ourselves that have literally separated themselves from what we could call source or the original creation or whatnot, or God, whatever you want to call it. That's the way I see it, right? It's like, we can't really say these people are like us. It, like, literally, even if they will get, his source is going to take everything back, but it's not everybody comes back the same way, right? So
I would define them as just as bullies. It's a bully in my eyes. It's a bully that has had absolute control and power. I mean, think about your bullies in high school or wherever. Like now imagine them with infinite amount of sources and power. You know, and that's essentially what, you know, everyone's on the bully side. They you know, everyone's, you know, gravitating towards them. They're Mr. Popular or whatever, and you're sitting there, you know, trying to deal with. But this is now, think of this on a larger scale, to where it's absolute control and manipulation. It's no different than a bully to me. They're just big bullies.
I like that analogy, because it makes me think of those movies where, like, high school students, and you got the popular ones that are like dressed super nicely, and those are like, yeah, everybody wants to be them, but then they treat everybody like crap except the people in their circles. So this is
hiding behind their blue check marks.
Yeah, that's so true. Wow. Yeah. And so what other thing that we want to talk about here today? Oh, I didn't mention that you're from Chicago, but, well, you know, I'm just throwing that in there because I like Chicago. I used to go there when I was younger, which is interesting because, okay, so I feel like I've crossed people that I'm meeting lately, that I've been in the places they were at, and I love that. It's like, oh, what year were you there? Oh, I was there too.
Yeah,
That's so funny. So what years were you, because you're not in Chicago, you're still in Chicago, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
How long have you been there
The
for?
suburbs. But yeah, I just say Chicago because a lot of people don't know where Naperville or Aurora is. But yes,
right.
Suburbs of Chicago.
Okay. How long have you been there for?
So I was born in 1987 and lived here till I was 19. I joined the United States Marine Corps when I was 19 out of high school. 3 months in, I was already deployed to Iraq.
Wow.
Yeah, which Iraq wasn't too bad. I was in Iraq in 2007. Pretty much, you know, everything was de-escalating at that point, but it would again flare up years later in the 20 teens. And then 2 years later, towards the end of 2008 and 2009, I was deployed to Afghanistan. That was more of a different story. That was definitely a war zone that I was in at that time,
Oh,
which was pretty hectic and I'll admit frightening at times.
wow. Yeah. And at that time, did you have the mentality like of, oh, it's fine if I die, like, because now I don't think you're that much scared of death, or are you still scared of death?
Well, oh, that's a funny one. I mean, I definitely don't want to die. Am I scared of it? Yeah, I guess, I still have nightmares of dying and
Mm.
sharks and whatnot of past traumas I've had in my life.
Ah.
Am I scared of it? Yeah, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say any more than the average person. Probably,
Mm.
I respect it, I guess is.
I see. Yeah, okay. So, and I was in Chicago when I used to go, was probably around, let's say between 1992 and 1998, I think. Yeah. Those were the years we were like go during the summer and stuff. So, yeah, you were around there for sure. Like,
Yep.
that's so funny.
That was,
Really?
I was, what grade was it? 92 to 92, I was 5 years old. And then, so 98, that would have been 11.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because I
Yeah,
was
we were
about
on the same age.
like 14 when 9/11 happened. I was, ironically, I was in, my dad was a pilot and I made up the excuse that I wanted to go home, and because my dad was a pilot and I was freaking out. So I just made it like, because I wanted to go home and see what the heck was going on the TV, because we just had TVs installed in my middle school. And I was in shop class when 9/11 happened. And I watched the first tower get hit. And ironically, I was building a clock.
Wow. That's so funny. I was in, well, funny and not funny, but yeah. I was in Mexico at that time. I was in high school. So yeah, I remember that moment. I think I was in a class, I think it was an English class. And it's like, and then somebody came in and was like, did you guys hear what happened? And so my teacher, who was from the United States, was like, oh my God, like worried because of his family and all. And then everybody was going nuts, like running around, like telling people, and like, what? I felt there was a weird energy behind it. I just, at that time, I was so just not aware, I was just like, I just let it be. But then I started discovering things I'm pretty sure you can tell me even more than what I know, but like just how the fact that it was pretty much staged and all, and I guess there's numbers behind that too, and the fact that, and then I felt bad because I'm like, I've always loved number 11, and then the 9 as well, but it shows up, and we talked about this, like how 9 shows up a lot in my life, and then I was like 9, 11, and it's like, why now? And then I felt like that was for me, that was like, oh, is that a bad thing that I like these two numbers?
Very powerful numbers. So 11, a master number. New York City has 11 digits in it, or 11 letters. The towers represent an 11 side by side to each other.
I saw that. Yeah.
We had flight 11 that crashed that day. Obviously 911 is our emergency dialing code, which was the first 911 call came out in 1968, which was the same year George Bush graduated Skull and Bones in Yale University, and he was the president at the time, who was at a Florida school and teaching all the youth there to say the spelling classes where the children repeated plane, must, hit, steal, all in there that morning. And
Were they? Sorry, were people predicting this already before, you think, probably with the numerology?
I've had funny. I actually had that conversation recently with one of my decoder friends, and we were wondering, like, I wonder if anyone was like decoding that the way we're decoding the potential next 9/11 attack, which we believe is going to be on the San Francisco Golden Gate Bridge. We'll get to that in a bit.
We're gonna talk about what can we expect next. Okay.
Right. So some more of the numbers behind 9/11. The big number there was 77. I thought was the most powerful number. So you call flight 77 crashed into the 77-foot tall Pentagon 77 minutes after takeoff in the 77th meridian west at a reported 777 miles an hour. And
Wow.
Gematria World Trade Center in full reduction cipher equals 77. September 11th, where you spell out 11th, September 11th equals 77.
Wow.
You can see right there how when you understand the code, you can see through the scripted lies that they have planned well in advance. Am I aware of anyone decoding it before that? No. It seems like Gematria became publicly known, I would say, within the last 10 years.
Oh, okay.
So it's fairly new information that's been leaked. I learned it with my best friend about 2 years, right when Kobe Bryant died. We found it out that week, the day before Super Bowl 54, which we like accidentally fell upon it. I'm not so sure it's accidentally anymore, the way everything's unfolded, but at the time we were like kind of just taken off by it, as I'm sure anyone listening might be hearing this information. It's obviously very wild. And so how it started, me and my friend, he asked me to come over to his house. We did a guided meditation, and it started explaining, the lady was talking about how we choose our hardships in this life, and talking about past life regressions, and how we meet each other in other lives, and then again going forward in another life. And that instantly reminded me of the movie Cloud Atlas, which is like probably one of my top 3 favorite movies. And what's interesting about Cloud Atlas is my mother claims to have written the book and gave it to a publishing company, and they never got back to her, which is, that's not the first time I'm sure anyone's ever heard of that happening. So during the meditation, I asked my friend, I was just like, hey, have you ever seen Cloud Atlas? And he's like, shut the heck up. Like, let's finish this. I was just like, oh, sorry. So we finished the meditation, and I was like, so have you seen that movie? And he's like, no. So I showed it to him. And one thing, he's like, oh yeah, that looks like a really cool movie. And I was like, do you want to watch it? And he's like, yeah, sure. I'm like, well, it's like a 3-hour movie. Tom Hanks is in it, Halle Berry. We know all about Tom Hanks and his satanic dealings and whatnot.
Oh, I had him in a dream.
Really?
He was really creepy. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what? At that time, I was in Greece. And then later I heard he was in Greece as well. I was like, oh my gosh, I had him. No wonder he's lurking around here. Where is he?
So I showed him the movie, and I was like, do you want to watch it? And he's like, yeah, sure. So we were waiting for my girlfriend at the time to come over. And so we just started looking at like other movies, and the algorithm, the next show it popped up on there was the movie 222. And that movie's about this guy who's an air traffic controller who saves 2 planes from crashing into each other, because he starts noticing all of these numbers, all of these synchronicities, and he starts piecing it together, and he diverts the 2 planes from colliding. And he later ends up finding one of the girls, and he falls in love with her. She was on the plane, and it turns into this whole like romantic love story. So we were like, oh, that's interesting. We knew nothing of numerology. I knew about astrology at that point. So I was like, oh, that's interesting. I've heard of numerology, but I don't know anything about it. And but I was always good with numbers. So I was like, oh, that's interesting. And
yeah, that's so funny how they hide, like you said, things in plain sight, but then they distract you with a love story. It's like, oh, but this is just a story. That's not
right.
You can't do that. You can't look at numbers and predict things,
Right. Right. It's just a story.
Oh my
And
gosh.
so
So
the
that's when
next
all
thing-
your knowledge, sorry, that's when all your knowledge about history and geography came in handy, that things that you thought were like useless knowledge, like why do I know this date? Am I gonna, get people to like me just telling them, hey, did you know that in 1962 this happened?
yeah, my whole life I had like history, geography, weather, sports. I had all of this just random knowledge. I was just like, astronomy. Um, I had all of this random knowledge. I was just like, when is any of that ever going to be useful? I just always thought, I'm like, my life seems like I was just picking things that I wanted to do instead of like, trying to find a job or, trying to, do a certain thing. So there came a time in my life where I was just like, geez, I should really buckle down and do what I need to do and, start supporting it, my family and whatnot, instead of just picking fun classes that I want to learn.
But I think that's just so perfect. Like how you just said it, it's like classes that I want to have fun with is what I think people should do more of than
Right.
what we normally do. And even then, because I picked some classes that, of course, because I felt like I needed to take them, but it's still part of your skill set, like your toolbox, let's put it that way. And I think it's cool to have all these experiences, in my opinion, because it gives you this wide view of the world, and it makes you see things from different perspectives as well. And because these things are not necessarily even related to each other, so it's like, so for me, that is part of the work of doing, like, I guess expanding your consciousness can also be done in that sense. And then afterwards, when you awaken to who you really are and what you're really here to do, or what you really love to do, then the stuff starts coming in handy. And I think you're a perfect example of how that's just playing out, like it's coming all together. Like it was like all like this, and it's like, woo.
Thank you. But yeah, so the next thing that we found was the next thing that popped up on the algorithm was the Super Bowl 54 was rigged. And we looked at each other, and that week my Tennessee Titans, my favorite childhood team for the past 25 years or whatever it was at the time, they just lost to the Kansas City Chiefs, who were going to the Super Bowl, and my best friend's team was going to the Super Bowl. So the week prior, we thought both of our childhood teams were going to meet up against each other, and it was going to be this cool duel between our childhood teams, and my team didn't make it, so I was all upset about that and just frustrated and upset, like any sports fan is when their team loses. And that was another energy loosh tactic. I believe they tried to keep our spirits low with, because only one team can win, so they're draining all of those other people's energy and whatnot, and keeping them in a low vibrational state of consciousness. And
that's one way to see it. Yeah.
So I'm, we look at it, we see Super Bowl 54 rigged, and I look at him, he's like, do you want to watch it? And I'm like, I don't know. I was like, why would you want? I'm like, I just started questioning him. I'm like, why would you want to watch that? I was like, your team's about to play, and like, even if this is true, you want to, the ending and that it's all destroyed. So he was more, I thank him more for like pushing me into it, because I was just like, I was all upset and butthurt, and he's all like, oh, let's watch it. And I was like, all right, it's your funeral. And so we start watching it, and this guy starts talking about how the elite essentially manipulate all of the numbers, and that Super Bowl was the Chiefs were going to win because it was symbolism for the Nancy Pelosi from San Francisco 49ers losing the impeachment trials to the Donald Trump commander in Kansas City Chiefs, the Kansas City Chiefs. And so we're looking at each other and we're like, what? We're like, no way. But we kept looking more. And then we saw that one of the players of the Kansas City Chiefs, his brother died in Nashville that month. And we're like, yeah, that's weird. They just lost to the Titans. And then I knew about like the Titans in Greek mythology and how Kronos ate his children because he was in fear of, being usurped. And Kronos did that to his father. He killed his father. So Kronos was scared of losing his power, so he devoured all of his titans, all of his children, which is, you know, black cube sacrifice and all of that. And so I'm like, I did pick up on that right away. So I was like, okay, maybe there are some meat and potatoes here. So we kept looking, and we finished the whole video. It was about like an hour long, and we were like holy cow, like there's a lot to this and all of these numbers. And we're like, well, let's see how it plays out tomorrow. We're obviously going to watch the game. And we went over to our friend's house, and me and my friend were sitting like kind of like off to the side from the rest of like our whole family. And you know, because we were just trying to see, like, you know, we wanted to like talk and have our side talks, and we didn't want to like freak anyone else out from like what we knew, because we didn't know if we even believed it. So we're like, you know, sitting off to the side, and we're having our chats, and the 49ers just blowing the doors off the Chiefs, and we're like, well, I guess that guy was wrong. And then all of a sudden, all of these penalties start coming in, and just these bonehead throws and everything. And we're just like, oh my God, this looks like, I'm like, have we been watching WWE fake wrestling all of these years? And we're like, and the 49ers just blow the game. And I just look at Chad, I was just like, wow. I was like, your team sucks.
I got chills.
And I was just like, yeah, it is. I was like, holy crap.
I got chills when you were telling me this, like right now, because I was like really imagining it, like envisioning how it was happening, how you experienced it.
Yeah.
And I got like the spiritual kind of chill thing, because, and I'm not into sports at all, guys. Like seriously, like for everybody listening, you guys know me, I never talk about sports, but yeah, how it's like literally, like you said, it makes a lot of sense. Like it's like wrestling. I've always seen wrestling as very fake as well. I never liked it either.
It all goes back to like ancient Rome. That's how
Yeah.
they manipulated all the people back then, was with the gladiators. They had all of the public watching all of the games and everything. Meanwhile, the crown, the royalty was, you know, manipulating all behind the scenes.
Yeah, so is it like, you know, would they go like this or like this, right? Because I remember watching.
Yeah, right. Like, yeah.
They know since the beginning what they're gonna do anyways with the person, or they just play with it, right? It's like whatever, and people are there cheering for that. It's just like,
Right.
oh.
And they would literally sacrifice them right in front of them. And now I think, you know, with how PC everything is now, it seems like they definitely do it just behind the scenes now. And I don't think Rome ever fell. I believe heads are still rolling. And once you understand Gematria, you can see how they essentially manipulate and you sacrifice these players to this day, because they sign their contracts and they're essentially slaves. It's no different than the slave trades. They're trading them around back and forth, and
That makes
telling
a lot
them
of
they
sense.
need to go. Mhm.
That makes so much sense. And I was also thinking that they might even literally kill some people, right? Like so that they don't say things, because there are people that probably want to speak up sometimes, and they get rid of them literally. And this happens everywhere too, like even of course we've seen it everywhere. But I was thinking, well, how much is this because, you know, people might some people listening might be thinking, oh, these are conspiracy theories, and we sometimes confuse this kind of stuff with like QAnon, but this has nothing to do with that, right?
Well, QAnon, I believe, is just another psyop, and how they left wing, right wing us. You know,
Yeah.
they have to control the narrative, so they have to play both sides of the coin. So, you know, no one has their own free thoughts. They have to control each side of the coin. So in Gematria, Trump equals 25, QAnon equals 25, tsunami equals 25, surge 25, flood 25, August 11th, 2022 equals 25.
Can we add that up to 7 maybe, or no? Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, that's another way you can do it, is another reduction as well, by adding the 2 digits together if they're not a master number.
Yeah, so they use 7 a lot, it seems like.
They use them all.
Well, yeah, but like when they're together, does that make it different? Like like when you were saying with the Eiffel Tower, the Twin Towers, Eiffel Tower. Like, oh my gosh, I hope nothing happens around here because I had literally a vision of like the Eiffel Tower in flames one time, but I don't know if that was like just my inner vision doing weird things, but I don't know.
The more I've researched, the more it does look like they are trying to destroy the Western world. And I think that you don't even need Gematria to see, the Hoover Dam cracking, the Georgia Guidestones falling, all of the G7 leaders, slowly
There's another
dropping.
7. There's
As-
another 7.
There you go. Abe Enzo, the former prime minister of Japan, he was just shot in what looks like a very fake um, homicide.
Mm.
You can see even like the blood packet bag in his jacket in one of the pictures if you look close enough. Yeah, they do a lot of it's wild when you look back through history and you connect certain dates with certain actors or actresses who share the same birthday, and they'll play very similar roles in all of their movies. So like with like Keanu Reeves, he always played I forgot what sign he was. I can't remember if he was Pisces or whatever his sign was. He always plays this like Jesus figure in all of his movies.
Mm.
And they do it with a lot of these actors and actresses. You can see it with
Yeah.
if you look up their filmography, you can kind of see like this specific role they're meant to be played, because obviously the elite know all of our birthdays and whatnot, and they hire certain characters to play certain roles to pull the wool over the rest of our eyes. And
Mm.
they want it to be as authentic as possible. So I believe that's why they use astrology so hard.
That's interesting. Yeah, and it's based on the Gregorian calendar, which we were talking earlier, like how that is a big control system, and there pretty much everything revolves around that. Even astrology, the tarot, everything stems from that, and it's base 10. So there you go. Yeah, control system, and it's just when you see it, you can't unsee it.
Right. The cards of illumination, which is your poker deck, 52 cards in the deck, 52 weeks in the year, 4 suits, 4 seasons, 13 cards per suit, 13 lunar phases, and 13 weeks in each season. So it's very that's another way you can decode yourself, is through the cards of illumination, finding out your birthday, and
Oh, I didn't.
looking up your card of illumination.
Oh, I have no idea what that is. I'll check it out. Yeah, you'll have to send me a link or something, because that's something new, and I like to look at new things always. Yeah, it's cool to see things through different perspectives, and that's why I love meeting and talking to different people, and people that are not, we're not obviously not on the same like wavelength maybe, but there is a link somewhere somehow in our journey, and that I found it so interesting as well as to how we were connected to certain events that we don't have to talk about right now. You know what I mean? Last year during the summer, where things were happening in your reality and in mine, like things were very chaotic. People kind of split up into little subgroups and all, and I had no idea that you were part of that, and live, and the event that happened and all, and I was still going through things here, and then I knew about it, and it's like, but it was like a moment of like this huge, for me it's like, I would call it a tower moment if we're talking about tarot, but we know that it's distorted. It's just like a big and then you told me this, and we connected somehow. I forget how actually, but we've always been in each other's fields somehow, and it feels like we're of course here doing things, even if it's not the same thing, but it's somehow linked. And I think we all have different pieces to the puzzle, and we're going to be doing certain things that maybe later can come together in one way or another. I'm just like imagining like a grid forming, or some like nodes here and there, even if we're not in the same place. Yeah, and I believe that's already happening. I don't know, how do you feel about this?
Yeah, we're coming up to the great merger, the merger of two worlds. And you get to choose: is it going to be the Great Reset, or is it going to be the Great Awakening? And I think the more people, the more tuning forks we have aware of all of this knowledge, the more we can choose together as a collective the Great Awakening over their Great Reset. I'd like to believe. I'm not sure how. Sometimes I battle between, is everything so pre-planned and predestined, or do we have say in changing in things? And I'd like to lean towards more of the side that that like there is a certain way that this world maneuvers and goes, and it's on a certain trajectory, but we all as free thinkers, free will, thank you, we can choose whether we want to look left or right, or
yeah, the way I kind of see it is things playing out is that there are different timelines that exist simultaneously, and then we kind of decide, each of us individually, which one we connect to, and then we kind of hop on there, and then our whole reality becomes that, so there are timelines in which there's the New World Order and all that, the things that have been predicted in movies and stuff that we're seeing, like in Wall-E, and we were talking about this earlier, how we see this in movies as well as how it can turn, what it can turn into. So we're going to go into what can we expect, right? But we see it in movies all the time, and we can definitely hop on that timeline if we decide to not look at things for what they are in this physical reality. Because, well, for me, it's like I like to zoom in and out. It's like you zoom in and everything looks so complex and numbers and this and that. And it's like, whoa. Then you zoom out and it's like, actually, it's very simple. It's like you have the choice, like, and you align with whatever energy you decide. And we're literally just like, for me, it's like, I was talking with someone about this the other day. It's like, we're like little blobs, like interacting, like energy. We can see it that way. There's many ways you can explain if you zoom out, but it's like, for me, it's like very important to notice that there are different layers to this game, you could say, and that you're present in every single one of them. Like, you're not just here, so yeah. So anyway, let me know if you have anything else to add to that. But otherwise, I want to ask you, what can we expect next?
So I guess maybe going through, like, I'd probably like to say first, so with decoders, obviously we don't know the entire plans of the elite. We can only see what they're putting out there through the news and the media and decode that. And obviously we're decoding and converting letters into numbers. The numbers can lead you astray, and you can get lost very quickly, and you might think you know what they're trying to say, but it could be something completely opposite or inverted or backwards or twisted. They like to flip everything. You always have to be thinking as above, so below, as within, so without, all of those 7 virtues. And there you go, 7 again. And yeah, so in knowing this, it's you have to compile a lot of information. That's why I think a lot of the good decoders, when I first got in, I noticed a lot of them were working in groups and everything. So that's what I would, and that's how I always worked well in the Marine Corps and everything. The more people, the more eyes you have on the target, the more you can better coordinate and attack and infiltrate that target and take it down. And so I used a lot of my military tactics in doing that, and trying to create my squads of other decoders and people that had service to humanity more towards service to self, because there are, I believe, some decoders out there who just care about making money from sports and not like the bigger picture here, which I don't really resonate with. Obviously it's nice to be able to like make money off of sports, but I think the bigger important picture is seeing exactly what they're saying, not just trying to get the game right, trying to see the bigger picture, and then that would help you actually get more games right going forward. And because essentially what they do is that the games come first and then whatever they're saying comes next throughout the games, or vice versa. They're so heavily tied to each other, so they could either be pre-telling or post-telling a story that's happened. Usually it's the games are foreshadowing from what I've noticed. Like for an instance, just the other day, there was the New York Yankees player. His name's Aaron Judge. He wears the number 99, and he hit a walk-off home run in the bottom of the ninth to win the game. And in Gematria, judgment equals 99, rapture equals 99, Jupiter equals 99. And that day he hit that walk-off home run was the day of the Jupiter retrograde, the very first day of it. So I was like, interesting. His name's Aaron Judge, and judgment values 99. You think about the Terminator and Judgment Day.
What's rapture about? Because I know you use that one a lot.
Well, the rapture in the Bible, where
the Bible
start, getting taken off this place. So it seems like with all of the plagues going on, the more I look, I hated religion growing up. I never wanted to read the Bible or any of that, because I thought it was a tool on like to divide and conquer, and I just always kind of went astray instead of researching it more, which I should have.
I was in a religious school for a bit in Mexico, just girls, and it was like, oh my gosh, when are we gonna get out of here? I did not like it. And yes, Bible reading and stuff. No, that was definitely not my thing. And then later I learned more about it, like what is actually in the Bible. But like I said, at that time I was just completely oblivious to all this stuff. And now I'm like, oh, that's why I had to go there and see it for myself also, to feel into it, because I was like, what was the purpose of that? Like, I didn't like that school, but we go through these things, right, to be able to speak from experience, or to learn our lessons as well. It's like all these things that we've put ourselves into, like, that we say, oh, that was a bad thing that happened. Well, it's actually just giving you more of those tools, like we were saying earlier, for your skill set to put into practice for what you're here to do, which is, just like you and me, we're both like here on the same big picture mission, is service to humanity, right?
Yeah, that was one of the reasons I joined the military. I didn't join because I wanted to go kill people. I joined the Marine Corps because it was it was the toughest one besides the United States SEALs, and I always wanted to challenge myself. I grew up playing football, so I loved like the camaraderie aspect of all of that. And that was one of the reasons I joined. My dad was he was a Navy Seabee. He wanted me to join like the Navy or the Air Force or something. And I always wanted to kind of push myself a little bit further and harder. And I saw that the Marines was that. So that's one of the reasons I joined. And I wanted to protect and give back to the country that gave me so much as a kid. I grew up, my parents gave me a lot. I grew up in a really nice neighborhood. I grew up in a small like airport community. My dad was a pilot.
Yeah, he told me.
My grandfather was a pilot, big aviation family. And I felt like I was given so much at a young age, and I saw like on TV that all the starving children in Africa and whatnot, and eat your food, Austin, and there's starving children and whatnot. And I just always would like think about that, and I felt so bad that like I had all of this and there was other people that were struggling. So I wanted to find a way to like give back. And later on I would find out that I was once again tricked into fighting the rich man's war, essentially. And just once I learned Gematria and started piecing all of this together, I just went right back into that mode of just like everyone I feel like the truth needs to be spoken, and I just wanted to give back in any way I could. And so I don't know. It's strange how it all came together. It was something
Yeah.
I always prayed for, was to like help in a great way that, like, you know, was bigger than anything like that I could ever imagine. And I feel
Mm,
like that's starting to seem like might be coming to fruition.
yeah. Yes, I know. I do feel like a lot of the people I've connected with are starting to focus more on something more specific, whereas before we are kind of exploring and learning a lot of things. But I am seeing that a lot with different people, and I think that's great because somebody was telling me the other day, I had a dream in which I was shown something with the, I don't know, which told me the alignment of the planets, blah blah. And it's like, but I know we're on the right track. I know this is a good thing, and I'm like, okay, great, it looks amazing. So I've been getting a lot of those kind of messages. They're like, yes, yes, this is the way, and it's gonna look good. Like it's just but it's so slow here. Like the matrix is like, time is like, when is it gonna end?
Dragon.
Right? Yeah, time is funny. Oh my goodness. So yeah, and so what do you think we can expect then to happen next?
So
Calculation.
well, me and a few of my I wasn't the first one onto this. I started once I got into like the sports decoding. That's kind of like where it started. I started noticing how it branched out into all these other things, and then I learned that a lot of hurricanes were making hurricane equals 52, Katrina equals 52, and a lot of hurricanes were making landfall on 52 date numerology. And I was like, whoa. I was like, okay, that's really interesting. So I was like, I wonder if that works with tornadoes and earthquakes. And so I started typing in tornado equals 33, which is the most important number to the Masons, I believe, behind 47. 33 is their big number. Jesus died at 33, 33 ranks in Freemasonry. Water liquefies at 33 degrees, which signifies fluidity of the mind. Anyone below 33 ranks is considered frozen minded, like water is frozen at 32 degrees.
Mm-hmm.
33 vertebrae in our spine. That 33 is like it's the helix. It's that 33 steps to ascension. It's a big number. So when I looked into it, once I typed in there's a button on the Gematria calculator that I use. It's a website that anyone can go and use and type in whatever you'd like, and work with it. And there's a match button in there if you type in like a said name, you can hit match and it'll show you all the other inputs everyone else has ever put into it. And so I hit tornado and 33 popped up. And so I hit match, and the big things that popped up right away was tornado is in English ordinal is 87, and then in full reduction it's 33. The two big things that I noticed that popped out there was Bill Gates equals 87 and 33, and Noah's Ark equals 87 and 33. And I was like, whoa. And so I looked more and started playing with some of the other numbers. You can cancel out some of the other ciphers just to see if you want to see what one cipher all values. And the 33s were big. So twister equals 33, cyclones equals 33. So I was like, okay. I'm like, I don't think that's a coincidence that those three words all valued to 33 in the exact same cipher. So I started looking into the history of tornadoes and whatnot, and looked at some of the other values. So in English Sumerian cipher, tornado equals 522. And I knew that the largest tornado struck and almost took out my best friend in the Marine Corps' home in Joplin, Missouri. It was an EF5 tornado that landed on 522 in 2007. So I was like, there's no way that's a coincidence that it summed the 33 and 522, and then on 522 it hits. I was like, So I started looking in, more, and later on, after like realizing all of that, I would start to piece together more and more and look at other tornadoes that struck. So later on that year in 2011, there was another tornado that struck the Indiana State Fair at exactly 8:46 p.m. It hit the stage. And what's interesting about the number 846, twin prism in English Sumerian equals 846. And the first twin tower was struck at 8:46 a.m., just like how George Floyd was kneeled on for 8 minutes and 46 seconds.
Oh, wow, that's interesting.
Mhm.
That's like, yeah, you gotta really dig to get all these little details.
Right.
Hmm.
There's a whole lot to it. And so, what's been helpful is, I have a lot of other decoders that I wasn't the first one to the party. I've just connected my share of the knowledge to it ever since. And the big event that we think seems to be brewing is the Golden Gate Bridge destruction, and it seems like what's going to happen. It seems very biblical. So in Revelations 9:11, it states in the Bible that, and they had a king above them who was the angel of a bottomless pit, hath his name in Hebrew tongue Abaddon, hath his name in Greek tongue Apollyon, and Apollyon is the destroyer. Apollyon the destroyer in Gematria sums to 101, like the Route 101 goes across the Golden Gate Bridge. And Apollyon has red horns and golden eyes. And you think Golden Gate Bridge has two red steeples. How perfect.
Oh,
And
yeah, that's so true.
And Apollyon comes out of the depths of the ocean, out of the abyss, to destroy Satan. And the Church of Satan is in San Francisco. And it was founded in 1966, the same year the Chicago Bulls were founded in 1966. You think bull, you think Abaddon, the horns, the Chicago Bulls.
Oh, wow, yeah.
And the Chicago Bulls were founded on January 16th, 1966. So invert the 116, flip it upside down, 911.
Mm-hmm.
And then you flip the 9 in 1966, that's 1666.
Mm-hmm.
So the Chicago Bulls were founded on 911-666. How funny.
Huh.
So they're essentially, and then if you rotate the Chicago Bulls, if you rotate their logo upside down, it's a robot reading the Bible. Five bulls. They do all of this wordplay. It's essentially like our whole language is like a lot of our words are magic spells. That's why they call it spelling.
Mm-hmm.
We're casting spells on each other.
Yeah.
This is a really good book. I don't know if my stuff is coming in backwards or not.
No, it's not backwards. Conscious
Okay.
Language, the logos of now.
Yeah, it's a really interesting book, and it explains
By who is it? Sorry, is it Robert what?
Robert Tennyson Stevens.
Okay, so for whoever wants to check that out. Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Really interesting book. It pretty much just goes through like a lot of the word spells and how to clean up your language and essentially like manifest more of what you want, because a lot of our spells are having our tires spinning essentially, and that's why I think a lot of people get so frustrated and like, why isn't this happening? I believe it's because we're speaking the wrong words. Wow.
And does this apply only in English, or is it also in other languages?
I would assume it's how much manipulated the English language is. I wouldn't be surprised that's in the other language as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I mean, I was telling you this the other day. I think we need to come up with another language, or just completely just switch to telepathy. It's like, okay,
that's what it all comes back to. It seems to me that like telepathy was the way back in the day, and I mean, I don't know how to start that, but I'm just the messenger.
Yeah.
I'm not the only one.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I definitely I love telepathy, and I do feel like it happens like randomly, when you get this you get a message from a person you were just thinking about because you knew that they were thinking about you, or sometimes even the thing that they're saying is similar to what you were thinking, and that's pretty cool too. I've had, for example, someone tell me, "Oh, I had a vision of a tunnel or something," and I was at the time going through a tunnel that was blue and purple, and I sent or I posted it so that she could see it, and it's like, oh, I literally got that before I saw that. It's like, so we're communicating so much, and I love that because it just shows how connected we are. And I like, that kind of like you, I follow clues and stuff, and I love doing that. It's like you're decoding. Everybody has a different way of decoding this reality, and for me, it's about having fun with it, right? As long as you're having fun, like, who cares what everybody else thinks? I'm doing, I got this red fox thing going on. It's like, oh, let's see where this leads us, and then, and if it doesn't lead to anything concrete, at least I know it was something that created bonds with people, and that it's this energy, right? Where are you focusing your energy, and what are you doing? I'd prefer doing this than looking at, the elections or whatnot that is going on here. I don't even know what's going on with the elections around here. I think they're over. Yeah, we got the same retarded president over again.
And that's like the hard thing too, like because you do want to have like fun with it. It's just like the hard part is like with what I'm trying to do is like I'm predicting like storms of mass destruction here, and it's like it's tough because I get a lot of DMs like, "Oh, you want this to happen? You're predicting." I'm just like, "No, I'm not. I don't want it to happen. I believe it's going to happen." You have to I think that thought process of anyone coming at me like that is, or anyone else for the matter, is absolutely ludicrous. Like,
Well,
what are you gonna do? Well, like, what do you do when tornado sirens sound? Or the weatherman says it's going to rain? You just going to plug your ears because you don't want it to rain or you don't want the tornado to come? It's like,
yeah.
And so I had a really interesting, when I was little, my heroes were in sports was Michael Jordan, who was Air Jordan. And then in football, I was a Titans fan, but they were from Nashville. So a lot of people are like, well, why are you a Titans fan? You're from Chicago. Why aren't you a Bears fan? I'm like, well, Bears sucked. And the first game I watched was probably the most exciting game ever of any game I've ever watched, was the Music City Miracle in Nashville, and I was hooked ever since. But so their quarterback was Air McNair, so I thought it was kind of weird that my two heroes in basketball and football was Air Jordan and Air McNair.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to think that what's going on here is related to both of these players, with all of these events going on right now. But anyways, in what I was trying to get to was in college, I was studying. I was like you said, I was a major for aviation. I was training to be a pilot. That didn't pan out so well. I had a lot of events happen in my life where that didn't really go through. But long story short, one of my classes I took was aviation weather. And what was funny was my weather professor was the weatherman who would come on Fox News Chicago when the Bulls were winning their championships. And I would watch, the Chicago Bulls win their championship. I was sneaking. The only other Saturn black cube in our house was in my parents' bedroom. And so they'd be worshiping their black cube downstairs, watching TV at night, and I would sneak up into their room and they would tell me to go to bed, and I wanted to see how like the Bulls would I had to see how it ended. So
and then see your professor saying the weather, right?
Yeah, Professor Rick DeMaio at Lewis University. He would always tell me that like weather manipulation wasn't a thing and whatnot. But I argue that in his class and still to this day, obviously. But he told me something that really always resonated with me, because I would always stay out after class and always pick his brain, because I had like a big gap in my to my next class right after his class, so I'd always hang out with him and just pick his brain and whatnot, because I was 29 years old when I was in college, so like everyone else, I felt like Happy Gil or Billy Madison, with a bunch of first graders or whatnot. So I don't really like, and there was some kids that I would like and a few other like former military guys that I would hang out with that were also going to school with me at the time. Some of the more mature acting uh, students. Not that I was Mr. Mature at all by any means. Beside the point. Yeah, I would talk to him after class, and I was just like, I always wanted to be a storm chaser, and I remember watching you and seeing you predict all of these storms and whatnot, and I thought it was so cool, and I always wanted to be like you, and here you are teaching me. I was like literally like tearing up like at the point, and like it's so cool. It's like an honor to like learn from you, and it's just I think the world of you and everyone else who does what you do. And I always wanted to be like, help people like get to safety and whatnot. And he told me something that I did not expect coming after all of that. And he's like, he kind of looked at me with like a just a different like tone, and he said that he's like, you know what, Austin, it's not all it's cracked up to be. And I was like, what do you mean? I was like, you save people pretty much and everything. He's like, yeah, but we're wrong 70% of the time. He's like, it's hard to predict weather. He's like, but he's like, you know what? Like we do it because, that 30% of the time, you could save somebody's life. He's like, the unfortunate part is like, we are wrong part of the time. And, he's like, you wouldn't believe the amount of death threats we get for like, if, we say it's going to rain and it doesn't rain, and all those workers took off that day who were like trying to like, create a, fix a pothole or create a sidewalk or whatever, and they need to wait for concrete to dry. That's an early morning job. You're screwing with people's money, and they're, trying to support their families. He's like, you wouldn't believe the amount of death threats we get. He's like, so it's not all it's cracked up to be. He's like, but we do it because, it's, it could help, in a big event, it could help save some lives. And that always resonated with me. And I had to like essentially learn that a lot in just my short 2 years in decoding sports and weathers. There was some times where I was very focused and thought I saw and knew what was going on, and I was wrong. I think so. My very first year decoding, I actually got the Super Bowl right 3 months in advance. So I was like, man, I wish I would have thrown more money down. I didn't actually think I was going to get that right, because I noticed these codes with the Buccaneers that happened that year, and they ended up they were 7-6 at the time, which is not a good record, but it's Tom Brady and all of his Super Bowls he's won. And I was like, you know what, this would be a pretty good value. I don't even have to put a lot of money down. And it looks like from everything else I've seen that it looks like this could be, a winning code here. And so I got that right. And so I might have gotten a little cocky with myself and thought I was like, oh man, I might be really good at this. And the next year I was really hard on this past year. I thought the Cowboys were going to win. They got eliminated the first round of the playoffs. And then I thought, well, okay, well, let's shift gears here. How else could it happen? And I started seeing a lot of the Bengals codes, and I thought they were going to win then, and they ended up losing in the Super Bowl. So I'm like, oh my God, geez. So it's like, it's really hard, trying to wake people up and predict things, and then you're wrong. So it's like, people are like, oh, well, that completely discredits everything. It's like, really? That discredits that Flight 77 crashed into the 77-foot tall Pentagon 77 minutes after takeoff in the 77th Meridian West at 777 miles an hour. And September 11th equals 77, and World Trade Center equals 77. That just throws it all out the window. Really? Like, I don't think maybe if you like realize that there are decoders new to this, and we don't have the entire script, and we're trying to solve the problem here, you can see how, we're just dealing with numbers and words. You can easily get lost. So it's like, it was a very humbling experience for me, because, I hate being wrong and stuff. But it's okay. But we're all wrong all the time. It's okay to be wrong. it's the dummy who doesn't pull over and ask for directions and keeps going in the wrong direction.
Right.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
And we learn from those mistakes too. So you know what not to focus your attention on next time as well. And because it's like you said, no, I'm going to insist that I'm right, and then I'm going to see it some way that it makes it look right. That's what's messed up. Right? Like some people do that. They're like, oh, I'm going to prove to you that because this is the way I see it. So if you look at it this way, then that I'm right anyways. And it's like, oh, yeah, but yeah, just no, these thoughts just came. Somebody just came into the conversation right now in my mind. I was like, okay, hi, I see you. It's like, you know what you're thinking about someone, and you're like, ah. But in any case, that had to be said. Oh my goodness.
So I guess long story short, what to expect next. It seems to me from what I've been looking at that with I think Nancy Pelosi seems to be the big clue here coming forward in her trip to Taiwan. And if you know anything about Taiwan, they produce 70% of the world's microchips. And
Oh,
China for the longest time, you know, you think, you know, military grade microchips, computer, everything, like a lot of our Western world goes by that. And Taiwan is about 100 miles off the coast of China. And, you know, Taiwan has since exited themselves from Chinese rule in, I believe, 1910. So 1912, I think it was 1912. And what I found was interesting, I looked back from the foundation date, the big date. A lot of decoders think that some sort of tsunami or big attack that's going to happen is on 8/11, or
I was going to ask you about the tsunamis. Yeah, because let me tell you just real quick that right after I heard your live when you were saying that kind of stuff, forget what day it was, but I talked to a friend of mine and she was saying, I had a dream. I've been having a lot of tsunami dreams. She told me this. I'm like, that's so interesting. I just heard about that this morning.
My girlfriend just texted me a bit ago and she said, I thought it was her that I read the text wrong. Her friend had a tsunami dream just last night. So I was like, and I don't think she's been telling her anything about any of this. So it's
there we
like,
go.
here's another potential confirmation.
So there you go.
I've
You've been
been
getting
seeing them left and right. And
yeah.
I've had the initial thought was like, well, maybe it's just because, you know, you bought a blue car and you start seeing blue cars everywhere. I've been thinking about tsunami. Maybe it's just starting to pop in. It's just like, and I get a lot of people like other decoders who just focus on sports, you know, thinking, oh well, you know what, you're bashing what everyone's trying to do here. And it's just like, you know, all the other decoders trying to wake people up. It's just like, well, you know, who died and made you king? You know, I'm trying to send my own message here, and I wasn't the first one to the tsunami party here in decoding.
I think there's something there. And I was even telling my friend, well, you know, we'll see what happens because some of these things, you know, we can try to predict and then it doesn't happen, like with the weather. But then I told her, let me know what you think about this. I'm like, I do believe that sometimes things happen in another, let's say, other realities or in other realms that are directly connected to us. And we've gotten our memory swiped so many times in history.
And with tsunami, it's not a matter of if. A lot of people think, oh, there's never, like, that's crazy thinking to think the tsunami will never happen again. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. The earth is moving and shaking, and if you haven't been paying attention, the Philippines and the entire Pacific Rim has been going through massive quakes and everything, and the only spot that's not really been getting hit is the western part of America. So it's like, is that just going to be like that forever? Is California just okay forever? I don't think so. And when you know that the where the Super Bowl was just hosted, that stadium, it's a brand new stadium. It's in the shape of a wave. If you look at it close enough, it looks like a big wave, and the Rams logo is like a wave. The ram horn, the way it curls over, looks like a wave.
Oh, interesting.
And I was watching a documentary on the building of that stadium, and the owner is all like toting and touting like how amazing it is that he was claiming that this stadium can create more energy than any stadium ever created. It can produce. I was just like, that's a weird thing to say for for her. Like, I was like, what does that have to do with anything? I was like, create more energy. I was like, okay. I guess he's just trying to rile up his fans, but I was like, what I know about earthquakes. So essentially, like the whole Los Angeles area, I'm sure a lot of people have seen the movie 2012 and how that falls into the sea. I mean, think about it. You have a piece of land right on the edge of the ocean that's had all of the water and oil sucked out of it. So it's not lubricated. It's a dry, brittle cookie that a bunch of hooligans and drunk people are jumping up and down on in a stadium that can create more energy than ever been made before. That sounds like a recipe for disaster, if you're asking me. There's been multiple times where so there was an instance in one of the Seattle games for the Seattle Seahawks. It was called, it happened a few years ago. It was called the Beastquake Run. And the running back's name was Marshawn Lynch. His nickname was Beast Mode. And they called that, he had a huge run where he pretty much threw off every other defender and they all fell down and he ran in for a big game winning score. And they called that the Beastquake mode and or the Beastquake run. And it was why they called it that was because it actually measured on the Richter scale like a small earthquake. It was like a 2 point something, like a very small earthquake, but it just shows the power of 70,000 fans jumping up and down. That measure the Richter scale, which is the measurement of earthquakes. And that's also happened again in 1989. It was at a LSU Tigers football game that was like the first instance of like said recording of a Richter scale. So it's happened before.
Yeah, I mean, for me, all these events are literally energy siphoning situations, because you got all these people building up all this quanta, all this energy with whatever feelings they have, really, and that's just a way to easily just take it, and for me, that's the way I see it. Yeah.
And so this year you had the LA Rams win. So think ram, like a battering ram. The LA Rams have the blue and yellow colors, the blue and gold, just like Ukraine is blue and gold, who's currently fighting off Russia. And then who did you have win the NBA Finals? You had the Golden State Warriors, who were blue and gold. And Elon Musk, right before the playoffs started, tweeted that the Warriors were at the gate. So, interesting. And so they're also blue and gold. And then who won the NHL hockey championship? It was the Colorado Avalanche. So think Avalanche, Warriors, Ram. You can kind of see the story of the wordplay going on here. And in the movie, the reason I had the Colorado Avalanche winning based off of the new movie Sonic the Hedgehog 2. You think Sonic, you think hypersonic missiles or energy weapons, sonic weapons, supersonic weapons. In that movie, in the new Sonic the Hedgehog movie, Sonic calls his friend who is at a wedding in Hawaii, and Sonic is on top of a mountain skiing away from an avalanche. And he tells his friend, you got to help me out, throw one of my rings. I need to come to you and get the heck out of here. So his friend who's in Hawaii throws the ring, and Sonic, the portal opens up and Sonic comes through, and there's an avalanche coming right behind him, and Sonic goes through the portal, and then the ring closes, but a bunch of snow falls into Hawaii. And why I thought that was interesting and why I thought that was connected to the Avalanche was because the Avalanche knocked out the St. Louis Blues, in the playoffs. And then they also knocked out the Oilers,
Huh.
which
Yeah,
there was some other interesting uh, there's like a whole nother story to decode the whole how the whole playoffs went. But I looked into because I knew that there was a potential tsunami that could come from Mount Kilauea, and that's where they were at in that movie, was right outside, in Hawaii. And Mount Kilauea, there is a massive rock formation on the side that when that volcano like really blows, not just like how it's like constantly like leaking and whatnot, when it really blows like violently, that rock formation is called the Helena Slump. And when the Helena Slump goes, you're going to have a massive mountain of like the whole side of the mountain go into the ocean. What happens when you throw a rock in a pond? It, displaces the water and creates a small wave. Imagine what's going to happen when a volcano size rock formation falls into the water, and that's directly pointed at San Francisco and Los Angeles. When that goes, I believe that's the tsunami that from the Helena Slump, which they're playing out through the movies and the sports, and how that all perfectly lined up.
Wow.
It seems like it was a satanic sacrifice and ritual, and a lot of people know how Hollywood, wizards back in the day used to make their magic wands out of Hollywood.
Yeah, so much play of words, and like you said, it's like they're all spells. So yeah, that's all really, for me, it's a whole new paradigm that I've been looking at your stories and stuff, and like I don't understand half of what's going on, but I've been seeing like little trends of the words that you use a lot and stuff, and I was like, okay. I think yeah, it's a cool way to decode the matrix. So I'm gonna name this episode "Editing the Matrix" with Austin.
Sounds great.
Or editing. No, wait, I wrote editing. Oh, I want to say decoding. What makes more sense?
Deciphering. There's a whole bunch of
Deciphering. I wrote down editing. Huh. Maybe in a way we kind of are. You know what I mean? It's like with the information we're giving, and like, because I wanted to add on real quick before, because I know we should probably wrap this up. It's been way too long.
Yeah.
But we're gonna wrap it up, and then we'll stay in chat just to close up, close off. Sorry, you and I, but like let's wrap it up for people listening, because yeah, I'm pretty sure it's like, oh my god, when is this gonna end?
So the big dates that I have circled are 8/11. I believe that might be the day that Taiwan is attacked. Taiwan will be 110 days old and 220, or I'm sorry, 110 years and 222 days old on 8/11. Which is very close to 9/11. There's a whole bunch, if you follow my work, how I tie into that. But so so they'll be on their 222nd day of their age, and President Xi Jinping equals 222, World Economic Forum equals 222, as above so below 222, order out of chaos 222, President Kamala Harris 222. And you think the other tsunami for the East Coast could come from Africa and the Canary Islands, and you think of the movie Bye Bye Birdie, Canary Islands. And in Bye Bye Birdie, they have the blue and gold theme. She's wearing a gold dress behind a blue screen. And at the beginning of the movie, they're all talking about Conrad Birdie, and all the women are in love with him because he's getting sent to war, and he's like a rock musician. They don't want him to get drafted and go to war, and all the girls are in blue and gold. So I was like, there's that blue and gold again. And blue plus gold equals green, which is Satan's number, or Satan's color of green.
You're dressed in blue and gold, kind of like with your glasses.
And yeah, how perfect. and green also represents our heart chakra. It seems
in
like
traditional system,
they're
yeah.
coming for the heart is essentially strike them in the heart. It seems like the play they're using. So the I believe that, and it doesn't have to happen, but with Nancy Pelosi going there, she's from San Francisco. In 1989, there was the La Prima earthquake that struck San Francisco during the Giants playing in the World Series, and they lost to the Oakland Athletics, who are across the bay. So it was Oakland versus San Francisco. How perfect. And then there was an earthquake during that game. It's like, there's no way that's all a coincidence. And then that year was also when Ronald Reagan ended his term in 1989. And that year was also the year of the Tiananmen Square massacre in China. And from the Tiananmen Square massacre to the La Prima earthquake was exactly 135 days. Golden Gate Bridge equals 135. Kobe Bean Bryant equals 135. Great Chicago Fire equals 135. La Palma tsunami equals 153. The reflections of each other. So it's another way you can look at decoding. The numbers can reflect and inverse each other. Is another way they hide it. So it's a lot you have to really know to kind of see through the script. And then I'd say so, and I think that's the day a lot of decoders think San Francisco gets attacked that day. I think it's Taiwan with Nancy Pelosi going there, because the aircraft carrier strike force that's in the South China Sea right now and protecting her essentially is the USS Ronald Reagan. And Reagan ended his term there. Nancy Pelosi from San Francisco in that quake in 1989. It's like, and guess how long ago that was? The Tiananmen Square and all of that. That was all 33 years ago.
Oh, more threes.
Actually 33. And in 1968, when the first 911 call happened and George Bush graduated Skull and Bones, Yale University, that was all 33. And that year in 1968, they broke ground on the Twin Towers to start building them. That was all 33 years before 9/11 happened. Here's that 33 coming up again. I think it's either 8. A lot of other decoders believe it's going to be 8/11. I have a feeling it's going to be 11/8 because there's a lunar eclipse that day. And you think the moonfall came out on 2/4 this year.
In November.
It seems like they're reloading a lot of Kobe Bryant's numbers. He wore the number 24 hours in a day. And the Jesuit order, who I think is behind the Vatican and everything, who I believe is behind a lot of this, their big number is 42. That's another number they love to use. Jesuit equals 42, the reflection of 24. Slavery 42, mega tsunami 42, the N-word equals 42, Jackie equals 42. Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier. He wore the number 42. He was the first African American to play baseball in the league. It's a big number. They also like to use there as well. And then what was really funny, I was looking through just some of like my old stuff and everything just randomly the other day. I was playing the guitar and I was looking for I didn't have any picks, so I was doing a live with someone and they're like, oh, just go find a card and cut it up and everything and use it as a pick. I was like, oh, that's a great idea. And I was looking through all my old cards and I found my this is my scuba certification that I got back in 2015. And I looked on the back and I was scuba certified on November 8th.
Oh, wow.
Scuba, water, and I was certified. Like, I was just like, what the heck? I was like, what are the odds? And my friend who showed me a lot of the tsunami codes, he has all of this 118. His address is 118. He randomly picked out a shirt at work. His employee number on the shirt, he just randomly picked it out of the bag, and that was 118. He said 118 has followed him throughout his entire life. And then here I see it in mine. I'm just like,
wow.
And think when you call 911, that's for an emergency. You call 811 to dig for gas lines. That's the number you call to like dig before, call 811 before you dig so you don't rupture a gas line.
Ah.
So I was like, dig, and then like thinking of Badnon coming out of the abyss, and then like my scuba certification, like in Ellen, I'm just like, what? It's weird how these numbers can flow into your own life, yet alone everything it's doing out there. It's like, and like it's wild, and I feel like I don't believe I'm the only one. I'm just one of the ones who's looked, and I feel like if anyone else looking can find the synchronicities in their own life that have been hidden in plain sight from them. Yeah, I think one of the biggest tricks that they've pulled on us is taking away like our like a lot of people in the world, they don't know their astrology signs, they don't know their numerology, and I think those are some great tools to use because it kind of gives the power back to you in so many different ways. You can understand that you might have more you can be a man and have more feminine traits and be okay with your body. You don't have to go and chop off your body parts and whatnot. And it's really sad to see what's going on in the world, and it's just like, man, if everyone just knew some of this information, I feel like the world would be such a better place. And so that's, I was always told that if you wanted to fix the world, there's no better place than to start with yourself. And that's how I've gotten to where I've gotten so far.
Oh, I love that message. I just love the way you shared your perspective, Austin. Thank you so much. I think this is a perfect way to wrap it up. Unless you want to add anything else, feel free. We're good to go.
Well, I guess one thing. So the big dates that I have circled are 8/11, 11/8, and then 12/30. I would not go near any coastlines, East Coast or West Coast. I would stay away, especially East Coast on 12/30. That was the day that the USSR was created. On 12/30. LeBron James born 12/30. Tiger Woods born 12/30. We're in the year of the tiger. World War I, World War II all started in years of tigers. This year is a water tiger. I would stay away from, and these tsunamis could reach potentially 26 miles inland. You're talking about, when these volcanoes blow, you're talking about skyscraper tall tsunamis. Ooh. And I don't know if anyone's been hit by like a 10-foot wave. It freaking hurts.
In dreams I have. It's
imagine a skyscraper sized tsunami. That's,
oh yeah, I know. I've seen them in dreams. It's horrible.
12/30 for the East Coast. I would watch out. I wouldn't be anywhere near it from either this year, next year, or 2024. I think 12/30 is the date that volcano goes, and it's already showing signs of volcanic activity. So it's not drawing. And mega tsunami equals 1, 2, 3. Conspiracy equals 1, 2, 3. Hide the zero equals 1, 2, 3. 12/30.
All right.
Tom Cruise 1, 2, 3. White Sox, the team, equals 1, 2, 3. Think of a big, when water foams, it turns white.
Well, you heard it, guys. Don't go near the coast areas and on these dates, just to make sure you're not hit by a tsunami or a volcano eruption. and follow Austin. He's Austin Edits the Matrix 12, right, on Instagram. You can look him up on my friends list, and and check out his posts. I mean, you're probably not going to understand half of what he's gonna be saying in there, but it's a really interesting perspective, and the more you speak to Austin, the more you understand what's going on. So I'm really curious to see what's going to happen, and so yeah, thank you so much, Austin. It's been amazing.
So great. And if anyone has any questions, feel free to DM me. I'm an open book. I'd love to help out and explain it in any way I can. I just, I've fought tooth and nail to like protect this country, and if I could just save one person's life, it would be all worth it. So
Well, thank you so much, Austin. And yeah, I'll see you guys again next week for another interview. I'm thinking about the next one already. I think it's going to be someone that you know, but we'll keep that a surprise. Anyway, all right.
For having
Bye.
me.
And what?
Gematria.
Yes, but play the thing, please.
Oh, yeah, right. 1 second. Where did that go? Oh no.
It's okay. I'll edit that.
Oh my god, I have so many tabs open.
So you are a decoder in
Gematria. I don't know why.
which we know it's pronounced that way because we looked it up, right?
Right. Here we go.
Gematria.
Thank you.
Gematria.